Vivian Cross's voice cut through the office like a knife. "Noah Calder cost us $3 million, she screamed, waving a printed report above her head. The entire department froze. Keyboard stopped clicking. Phones went silent. Every eye in the room locked on me. My face burned hot. My heart hammered against my ribs. I stood there, trapped in the center of the floor, as my boss tore into me with a fury I'd never seen before. She held those papers like they were proof of murder. "You've embarrassed this company, Noah. Do you understand what you've done?" Her finger jabbed toward me with each word. I opened my mouth to speak, but she steamrolled right over me. "Pack your things. Now." Someone's chair scraped against the floor. A whispered curse floated from the back row. My throat tightened. I knew I didn't do this. I knew it with every fiber of my being. But standing there with dozens of faces staring at me like I was guilty, doubt crept in for just a second. Then I looked at Vivian, really looked at her, and I saw something flicker behind her rage, something that looked a lot like fear. My jaw tightened. I took a slow breath. Then I said it, calm but laced with steel. "When you're finished shouting, I'll be happy to show everyone who really caused this. Please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments where you're listening from. My name is Noah Calder, and this is how my boss tried to bury me alive, until I made her dig her own grave. Let me take you back. Back before the screaming, before the lies, before everything fell apart. I was just a guy doing his job. I worked at Vector Corp, a mid-sized logistics company in Denver. I'd been there 5 years. Senior logistics analyst. Not the flashiest title, but I was good at what I did. Really good. I tracked shipments, managed routes, handled supply chain problems that made other people panic. I wasn't the type to play office politics or fight for attention. I kept my head down, did the work, went home. My coworkers liked me. My clients trusted me. And for a long time, so did Vivian. She was my direct manager. Sharp, ambitious, always dressed like she was heading to a boardroom meeting, even on casual Fridays. When I first started, she seemed impressive. She praised my work, called me the backbone of the team. I believed her. I thought we had a good working relationship. I thought she valued me. Looking back now, I realized I was just useful to her. And the moment I stopped being useful, the moment I became a threat, everything changed. It started small. 3 months before the explosion, Vivian stood in front of the department during our weekly meeting and presented a solution to a shipping delay that had been plaguing us for weeks. She spoke with confidence, clicked through slides, fielded questions from upper management. Everyone nodded along, impressed. I sat in the back, watching. Those slides were mine. That solution was mine. I'd spent 2 weeks building that plan, testing routes, negotiating with carriers. I'd sent it to her the day before, expecting maybe a quick review or a thank you. Instead, she presented it as her own work. My name wasn't mentioned once. After the meeting, I caught her in the hallway. "Hey, Vivian, about that presentation." She smiled, smooth as glass. "Great work on the data, Noah. Really helpful." Then she walked away before I could say another word. I stood there, confused. Was that her way of thanking me? Or was she pretending I'd only done the grunt work? I told myself I was overreacting. She was my boss. Maybe this was just how things worked. But a tiny seed of doubt took root that day. And over the following weeks, that seed grew into something darker. The whispers started a few weeks later. I was grabbing coffee in the break room when a coworker named Marcus pulled me aside. His voice was low, cautious. "Hey man, I don't know how to say this, but Vivian's been saying you've been overwhelmed lately." I blinked. "What?" He shrugged, looking uncomfortable. "She mentioned it to a couple of us. Said you've been dropping the ball on deadlines, that you're stressed out." My stomach dropped. I wasn't overwhelmed. I'd hit every deadline. My performance reviews were spotless. But now people were hearing otherwise. I laughed it off. "That's weird. I'm fine." But inside, something shifted. The next day, I overheard her. I was walking past the conference room when I heard her voice through the cracked door. She was talking to another manager, laughing. "He's a good worker, but he's not leadership material. You know what I mean?" My feet stopped. I stood there, frozen, as her words sank in. She was planting seeds, doubts about my competence, rumors about my abilities, and she was doing it behind my back with a smile on her face. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. Something was wrong. Something bigger than missed credit or casual gossip. Vivian was setting me up. I just didn't know why yet. The turning point came during a high-stakes project. We were handling a major contract for a client that shipped medical equipment overseas. The deadlines were tight. The margins for error were zero. Vivian called me into her office and said she'd forward me the updated client instructions by end of day. I waited. The email never came. 2 days later, the deadline passed. The shipment sat in limbo because I didn't have the correct routing codes. Vivian stormed into my cubicle, her face tight with controlled anger. She didn't yell. That would have been too obvious. Instead, she spoke in that cold, clipped tone that made everyone nearby glance over. "Noah, how did this happen?" I scrambled. I was waiting for the client instructions. "You said I sent them to you 2 days ago." My blood went cold. "No, you didn't." I checked. "I never received." She pulled out her phone, tapped a few times, then showed me her screen. There it was. An email sent to me with the subject line urgent, updated routing codes. Timestamp, 2 days ago. My hands shook as I opened my inbox. I searched. Nothing. She sighed, disappointed. "Check your spam folder, Noah. And please be more careful." I did. The email wasn't there either. But everyone watching assumed I'd screwed up. That night, I went through my email logs with a fine-tooth comb. And that's when I found it. The email existed, but the metadata showed it had been sent from her account and immediately recalled before it ever reached mine. She'd faked the whole thing. I saved a screenshot. My first piece of evidence. I didn't know what I was going to do with it yet, but my gut told me to keep it. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing patterns. Small edits to my project reports that made them look sloppy. Meetings scheduled without me, then blamed on miscommunication. Client emails she'd answer on my behalf, twisting my words just enough to make me look incompetent. She was building a narrative, and I was the villain in her story. Then came the shipment disaster. It was a Friday afternoon. I was wrapping up for the day when an alert popped up on my screen. A major logistics reroute had been approved, one that sent a high-value shipment through an unapproved carrier in a region known for delays. My heart stopped. That reroute would cost the company millions if it failed. I checked the approval log. My name was on it, but I never approved it. I never even saw the request. I immediately tried to reverse it, but the system had locked the order. It was too late. By Monday morning, the damage was done. The shipment was lost. The client was furious, and Vectra Corp was staring down a $3 million loss. Vivian called an emergency meeting, and I knew, before I even walked into that room, that she was going to pin this on me. I sat at my desk that weekend, staring at the system logs. My hands were shaking. The approval that destroyed everything, the one with my name on it, had been made from Vivian's workstation. Her employee ID. Her access code. She'd logged into the system using administrative override and pushed the reroute through under my credentials. It was calculated, precise, and it was meant to destroy me. I leaned back in my chair, the weight of it crashing down on me. This wasn't just office politics. This wasn't just jealousy or competitive tension. Vivian had been planning this for weeks, maybe months. She'd been building a case, layer by layer, so that when this moment came, no one would question it. I'd be the obvious culprit, the guy who'd been slipping, the worker who couldn't handle the pressure, and she'd walk away clean. I sat in that dark, empty office, the glow of my monitor the only light, and something inside me hardened. I wasn't going to be her scapegoat. Not anymore. I opened a new folder on my desktop. I titled it Insurance. Then I got to work. I started backing up everything. Every email, every approval log, every meeting note. I printed hard copies and saved digital versions in 3 separate locations. My personal cloud, a USB drive, and an external hard drive I kept at home. I went through months of records, building a timeline. I documented every lie, every manipulation, every piece of evidence that showed Vivian's fingerprints. I didn't tell anyone. Not my coworkers, not my friends, not even my wife. This was my fight, and I needed to be smart about it. My demeanor at work changed. I smiled in meetings. I answered Vivian's questions politely. I played the part of the loyal, obedient employee. But behind my calm eyes, I was collecting ammunition. Every time she lied, I documented it. Every time she tried to twist my words, I saved the original. I became a ghost in my own story, quiet, invisible, but always watching. And Vivian had no idea. Vivian got bolder. She stopped hiding her contempt. She'd snap at me in front of others, rewrite my project summaries, questioned my decisions and client calls. One afternoon, a coworker named Bryce caught up with me in the parking lot. "Man, she's been rough on you lately." I shrugged, forcing a smile. "She's under a lot of pressure." But inside, I was filing away every interaction, every contradiction, every moment she revealed her hand. The web was tightening. She just didn't know it yet. One night, I reviewed the footage from the office security cameras. Vectra Corp had a policy that all desk activity near sensitive terminals was recorded. I submitted a formal IT request, disguised as part of a routine audit, and received access to a week's worth of footage. There it was. Vivian, late at night, sitting at my workstation, her fingers flying across my keyboard. Timestamp. The exact moment the fraudulent approval was made. I backed up the video, added it to my growing file, and waited. 2 weeks after the disaster, HR called me in. My stomach dropped when I saw Vivian sitting in the corner, arms crossed, wearing an expression of fake concern. The HR rep, a woman named Diane, folded her hands on the desk and gave me a tight smile. "Noah, we've received a complaint about your communication tone with clients." I blinked. "My tone?" Vivian leaned forward, her voice soft, almost sympathetic. "We just want to help you improve. There's been feedback that you've been abrasive." Abrasive. I'd never been called that in my life. My clients loved me, but here I was, sitting in an HR office, being reprimanded for something I didn't do. I forced myself to stay calm. "I understand. I'll work on it." Diane nodded, made a note in her file, and dismissed me. I walked out, my legs shaking. Vivian was documenting a paper trail. She was creating a history of poor performance, attitude problems, mistakes, all fake, all designed to justify what was coming next. I went back to my desk, opened my insurance folder, and added the HR memo to the file. Let her think she was winning. A week later, a client email went out. It was insulting, unprofessional, and sent under my name. The subject line read, "Your constant delays are unacceptable." The body of the email was worse, blunt, dismissive, borderline hostile. I stared at my screen in horror. I never wrote that. I'd never even think something like that. I checked my sent folder. There it was. My name, my email signature. But I didn't send it. I dug into the metadata. The email had been sent from Vivian's IP address, routed through a remote access point that mimicked my credentials. She'd forged it. I took a screenshot, saved the metadata report, and quietly added it to my file. I didn't delete anything. I didn't alert IT. I let her think she'd gotten away with it. Because every move she made was another nail in her own coffin. I decided to set a trap. I created a fake email chain, a harmless internal discussion about a low-priority project. I sent it to myself and CC'd it to a shared folder that only managers could access. Then I waited. 2 days later, I checked the system logs. Vivian had accessed the file. She'd opened it, read through it, and even made a small edit, changing a date to make it look like I'd missed a deadline. I smiled for the first time in weeks. She couldn't help herself. She had to meddle. And now I had proof of unauthorized access and falsified records. I saved the log. The trap had worked. The evidence was piling up. And Vivian had no idea she was walking herself into a corner. Then came the breaking point. The $3 million disaster finally hit the executive floor. The client had filed a formal complaint. The logistics failure had delayed critical medical supplies. The fallout was catastrophic. Upper management was furious. Vivian went pale when the news broke. But within an hour, her expression hardened. She'd made her decision. She was going to throw me under the bus. She called a department-wide meeting. Everyone gathered on the main floor. She stood at the front, holding a printed report like it was a weapon. Her voice was steady, cold, rehearsed. This company has suffered a significant loss due to a logistics error, an error that traces directly back to one person. She looked at me. Noah Calder. The room went silent. My co-workers shifted uncomfortably. Some looked away. Others stared. Vivian's voice rose. Noah approved a reroute that violated company policy and cost us $3 million. He ignored protocols. He ignored warnings. And now we're all paying the price. My chest tightened. My hands clenched in a fist. She was lying, and she knew it. But she also knew that in this moment, she had the power. She had the stage. And she was using it to destroy me. She waved the report in the air, her voice rising with manufactured outrage. Do you have any idea what you've done, Noah? You've embarrassed this company. You've endangered our client relationships. I stood there, frozen. Everyone was watching. My face burned. My throat felt tight. She pointed toward the door. Pack your things. Now. Someone gasped. A chair scraped. The air felt thick, suffocating. And for a moment, I felt the weight of it. The injustice, the betrayal, the lies. But then something inside me snapped into place. I took a slow breath, looked her straight in the eye, and said, calm but laced with steel, when you're finished shouting, I'll be happy to show everyone who really caused this. The room went dead silent. Vivian's face twitched. Her confidence faltered for just a second. Then she recovered, forcing a cold smile. Security will escort you out. I nodded once. I'll be waiting for your call. Security walked me out. My co-workers whispered apologies they didn't mean. A few avoided eye contact entirely. I packed my belongings into a cardboard box, my coffee mug, a framed photo, a notebook. My hand shook, but I kept my face neutral. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of seeing me broken. As I walked past Vivian's office, she stood in the doorway, watching. Our eyes met. She smiled. I didn't. I just kept walking. That night, I sat in my home office, the box still unpacked on the floor. My wife, Angela, brought me tea and sat beside me in silence. She didn't ask questions. She just held my hand. I plugged in my USB drive, opened my insurance folder. Every file was there. Every timestamp. Every lie. And one piece I'd never told anyone about. An audio recording. 3 weeks earlier, I'd been working late when I overheard Vivian and another manager, a guy named Troy, talking in the break room. I'd been passing by when I heard my name. I stopped, pulled out my phone, hit record. Vivian's voice came through clearly. He's too nice to fight back. He'll take the fall. Troy laughed. You sure? Positive. Noah's the type who'll apologize, even when he's right. It's perfect. I'd stood there, phone in hand, heart pounding, as they casually discussed using me as a scapegoat. Now, sitting in my home office, I replayed that recording. Her words were crystal clear. Damning. I saved it to 3 different devices. Backed it up to the cloud. Sent a copy to a secure email account. If Vivian wanted to destroy me, she'd pick the wrong person. I didn't react publicly. I let the company stew. Let the rumors swirl. People assumed I was fired, disgraced, gone for good. But behind the scenes, I was moving pieces into place. I sent anonymous IT audit requests, flagged irregularities in system logs, and quietly forwarded evidence to people who mattered. I never signed my name. I never made it obvious. I just fed them breadcrumbs. And, slowly, questions started to emerge. Why did Noah's approval come from Vivian's workstation? Why were there discrepancies in the timestamps? Why did the email metadata not match? I watched from a distance as the corporate machine started to turn. Audits were launched. IT started digging. And Vivian, confident in her lies, walked right into the spotlight. Corporate launched a formal internal audit. Vivian played her part beautifully. Cooperative, concerned, professional. She answered their questions with rehearsed precision, always steering the narrative back to my mistakes. But then the auditors started asking questions she couldn't answer. Why does the system log show your access code during the approval? She blinked. That must be a technical error. Why were emails sent from your IP address under Noah's credentials? Her smile tightened. I don't know. Maybe his account was compromised. But the cracks were showing. The auditors weren't buying it. And Vivian, for the first time, looked rattled. I got a private email from a senior executive named Maxwell. Subject line, need your input for accuracy. My heart raced. They were doubting her story. I replied with a single attachment. My insurance folder. Every file. Every timestamp. Every lie, documented and verified. I hit send. And waited. The tone shifted fast. Within days, Vivian's name started circulating in whispers. People stopped CCing her on emails. Meetings were held without her. I got a call from Maxwell. His voice was careful, measured. Noah, we'd like to bring you in for a follow-up discussion. I agreed. When I arrived, the conference room was full. Maxwell, the CFO, the head of HR, and 2 external auditors. Vivian wasn't there. Maxwell gestured to a chair. We've reviewed your documentation. It's extensive. I nodded. I believe in being thorough. The CFO leaned forward. You understand this puts the company in a difficult position. I met his gaze. With all due respect, sir, the company put itself in this position when it allowed false accusations to go unchallenged. Silence. Then Maxwell nodded. Fair enough. 2 days later, Vivian stormed into the office. I was clearing out some final paperwork when she appeared in my cubicle, her face tight with barely controlled fury. You think you're clever? She hissed. I looked up slowly. Calm. No. Just thorough. Her hands clenched into fists. You're going to regret this. I leaned back in my chair, holding her gaze. I already regret trusting you. For the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. She realized, in that moment, that I wasn't the quiet, obedient worker she'd thought I was. She turned and walked away. But her confidence was gone, shattered, and I knew the endgame was close. The final meeting came a week later. It was virtual this time. Upper management, HR, external auditors, and me. Vivian joined, her face composed but strained. Maxwell started. We've completed our review. Noah, you're invited to present your findings. I share my screen. My slides were titled The Truth. Slide 1. System logs showing Vivian's access during the fraudulent approval. Slide 2. Email metadata proving she'd sent messages under my credentials. Slide 3. Security footage of her at my workstation. Slide 4. The audio recording. I played it. Her voice filled the call. He's too nice to fight back. He'll take the fall. The silence after that clip was deafening. I didn't need to say anything else. The evidence spoke for itself. Vivian's face had gone pale. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Then, finally, she stammered. This is taken out of context. Maxwell's expression didn't change. Ms. Cross, we'll need your access badge. Effective immediately, you're suspended pending further investigation. Her screen went black. She was gone. I sat back in my chair, emotion washing over me. Exhaustion. Relief. Vindication. Angela was in the next room. I could hear her moving around, giving me space. I closed my laptop and just breathed. For the first time in months, the weight lifted. I hadn't shouted, hadn't gloated. I'd just let the truth do its work. And it had been enough. A week later, my phone rang. It was Maxwell. Noah, the board would like to offer you a position. Vivian's role. Senior Logistics Manager. Significant raise. Full authority over the department. I let the silence stretch. I appreciate the offer. But I've already accepted another position. He paused. May I ask where? A competitor. They reached out during the audit. They value honesty. Another pause. I understand. For what it's worth, you would have been an asset. Thank you. But I need to work somewhere I can trust the people around me. We ended the call. I sat there, staring at my phone, feeling a strange sense of peace. I returned to Vector Corp one last time to clear out my desk. Vivian's office was empty. Her nameplate was gone. The door was open, the space hollow and quiet. A few coworkers stopped by as I packed. Bryce clapped me on the shoulder. You did the right thing, man. Marcus nodded. We knew something was off. I smiled, but didn't say much. I wasn't there for applause. I just wanted to move on. As I walked through the office for the last time, a few people clapped quietly. I didn't stop, didn't wave. I just kept walking, carrying my box, feeling lighter with every step. Outside, the sun was bright and warm. I loaded my things into the car and paused, looking back at the building one last time. Vector Corp had tried to bury me. Vivian had tried to destroy me. But I'd survived. Not by shouting, not by fighting dirty, just by telling the truth and letting it speak for itself. I got in the car, started the engine, and pulled out of the parking lot. As I drove away, I thought about everything I'd learned. The truth doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need revenge or drama. It just waits, quiet, patient, undeniable. And when the moment comes, it buries the lies all on its own. I smiled, turned up the radio, and drove towards something better.